What's up, everyone, and welcome to another Bitcoin market update. In these videos, you will learn how to use technical analysis to forecast price movements in your favorite cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin and others. So let's dive into Bitcoin here on the weekly time frame. So looking at this from a weekly perspective, you can see that right now we have wicked above this key high here from June 14th. The question is at this point, was this a liquidity grab to try and get the liquidity or stop losses, in other words, above this key high? Meaning, did the whales push the price up to this point so that they could grab the key stop losses above this high and then push the price down lower from that point? That is still yet to be seen. But right now, since this weekly candle has opened, we started to trade down from this point. It's not too surprising once we look at the daily time frame. We'll see why that is. But as of right now, we haven't had really any follow through this week so far from the bulls, although it's only the first day of the week, so not very surprising yet. So if we look at this from a pivot's perspective, the pivot that we're going to be looking for if we do continue to rise is this pivot up here at about 46,300. So now that we've gotten this candle close that looked really nice here with a shorter upper wick of people taking profits and a pretty decently long body of the candle right here, I think that this is pretty decent for continuation. Now, like I said, it is going to be determined over the next several days whether this was a liquidity run on this high if we just continue to trade down lower from this point. And if we do, I would still expect a bounce for a higher low above this low that we just set at 29,254. And the reason for that is because of the magnitude of this move. I mean, we rose about 45%, so for us to come down and not form a weekly higher low at this point would be pretty significant. But for us to continue as well would also be very significant. And the reason for that is because of the fact that we've already risen that 45%. So whether we continue higher or we go down, what I would expect is if we continue higher, we're not going anywhere higher than 46,300. Roughly right around there, I would say up to about 47K before setting a lower high and then having to come down and form a higher low, because we're not just going to keep streaking right through this and this is our low. We're not just going to keep going up forever. We'll have to set a lower high on the weekly time frame at some point. The question is, did we just set that weekly high just now last week at 42,624? Or are we going to continue up this week for a new high on the weekly time frame above this previous one from July 26th, this last weekly candle? If we come down, we'll look for a higher low to be set somewhere below the low of this weekly candle at 35,255. It'll probably, somewhere midway, I would say, in between these two, like this candle close and this candle's open right here is where I would expect a higher low to potentially be set if we do come down. So let's go down to the 3-day time frame. So if we look at this from a 3-day perspective, right now it does look like from a 3-day perspective that our weekly high may be set. And the reason for that is because of this bearish doji candle at the top of this run of about 9 days here. So if we look at this, we had three 3-day candles of increasing bull volume, and then we had this above average bear volume day that kind of threw a wrench in the bulls rally here, at least for the short term. But this is natural price action with a short squeeze to see this rise in price, and then this very natural as well to see people taking profits, as well as at least a short term slowdown in price, because you can't just go up forever without coming down and setting a higher low first if we are to continue. I do think it is likely that we will set a higher low, like I just said, on the weekly time frame, on this 3-day time frame as well. And so where will we set that higher low? Well, our first zone is this gray zone here, which is the 2-day support level that we'll talk about in a moment. And then the other level is this 3-day level down here from this white candle from July 9th. This is from our bear trend where we have our high, low, lower high, lower low, and then we push right through this zone. So this is a potential area for price to bounce as well if we get down to that area. After we set our higher low, it depends on how far down we go to this previous low in relation to the previous low, to determine if we come up and immediately form a higher high to go to a new high up towards maybe this gray level here, or to form a lower high. So we'll see how far down we get on the 3-day time frame. Right now the price action was pretty bullish, but we have to remember that a lot of this push up was not driven by people just changing their conception of the trend that we currently find ourselves in, and was more due to the fact that short positions were getting forced out of their people that were going short were getting forced out of their short positions, is what I was trying to say there. So because they were getting forced out of their positions, they were forced to buy, versus buying because they think that the price is actually bullish, or the trend or the technical analysis is telling them that. So let's look at the 2-day time frame then. So if we look at this from the 2-day perspective, you can see this candle closes in 2 hours and 22 minutes. This is looking very bearish here. You can see the above average bear volume here after 3 days of declining bull volume. No surprise that we're getting this candlestick here. The question remains, what is the next 2-day candle going to look like after we get this 2-day candle close in about 2 hours? So this gray level right here, which was initially resistance here from our bull trend right here, has held for resistance twice, and then it held as support right here already once. So we have to remember that it's already held as support once. So if we go into it a second time, it's going to be weaker than when we went into it the first time. So that's an important distinction when you're looking at a support or resistance zone, is how many times has this level been tested in the past? If it's been tested several times, then it's getting weak, and it's probably, you're eventually going to be breaking through it. Right now, the fact that we've only tested it once shows me that this level has probably still got one more bounce on it, if I had to guess, before we break through it, if we are to break through it to the downside. So we'll see what we get there in the coming days. From that perspective, if we go to the single day time frame, we can see we had this bull trend right here, and then yesterday we had a candlestick that came down, came up again to grab the key stop losses above this high, and then went down today. And now we're going potentially for the low right here at from July 30th candle. So what I'm going to be watching for here is a wick below this low. And the question is, are we going to close candlesticks below this low, or are we going to just wick below it, grab the stop losses there, and then go up once again? Because if we just wick below it, then that will be really good news to the bulls for potential continuation. As you can see, there's above average bull volume below that low on this candlestick. And so what that means is that there's people that went long here have put their stop loss below here. So if we go down and go below that low, we will trigger some of those stop losses. So that's an important to keep in mind as well. If we look at this from a couple different indicators, you can see that right now we're currently operating below the cloud. So what we could end up seeing is if we close below the cloud, the edge of the cloud, this green line, is going to become the resistance once again for price, as it was right here when we went into it on July 26th. But then if we close back inside of it, we could potentially see that edge-to-edge move, like I said, up to about $47,000. I talked about that in yesterday's video, so check that out if you haven't already, where I talk about that. In addition to that, if we look at this from a super guppy perspective, you can see that on the 1-day time frame, we've finally flipped these EMAs to at least be gray. So now that these EMAs are gray, we have the potential for the price to potentially bounce off of these and subsequently go up once again. When they're red and the longer term EMAs were expanded and above the shorter term blue EMAs here, this was suppressing price. You can see that with all the different rejections that we had here before eventually we pushed above it. So now that we're above it, and once we come back into kind of this zone here, which starts around about 37.5, that's going to be an area to keep an eye on for a potential bounce for price if we don't get one even before that point. So if we go down to lower time frames, what are we currently looking at? Right now, we're looking at this 12-hour level right here. So this is where we had our bull trend right here with our low, high, higher low, and then higher high. Now we've come down and we're testing this level as potential support here. This level, this candle closes in 2 hours and 17 minutes. The question is going to be, do we get a bounce off of this 12-hour level, or is this going to just end up being one of the scenarios where, if I can find my brush, where we just push right through this zone and close 2 12-hour candlesticks below it? If we do, then this level is going to end up being resistance on a retest for a potential push down. But we'll see if this 12-hour level actually ends up holding the way that currently right now it's looking like it might. And the reason that I think that it might is because if we look at this from a volume perspective, it depends on what this last volume candle is going to look like. But there's two different factors here that could end up being very bullish. One is the potential volume. You see we had declining bear volume the last two 12-hour candles, and now we're pretty close in terms of volume to this candle. So we're either going to see this turn into a bull candlestick, and then that's good news to the bulls for a potential push higher, or we're going to see this go above this volume candle right here and lead to a increasing bear volume once again, and then we'll probably push below the key low there. The other thing to keep in mind is this potential hidden bullish divergence here on the RSI. So you can see we have the low here on the RSI of 63.31, and then the low down here is right now at 56.43. So if this candle were to close at 56.43 or thereabouts, and then bounced from there, that would create a 12-hour hidden bullish divergence in conjunction with the potential declining bear volume or bull volume beginning. So we could see a push above that purple zone, which is up at about $40,325. So that's really the level that I'm currently watching there. The other level is this 12-hour resistance level, which starts up here at about 43,200 and goes up to about 45,850. And that was from our bear trend back here, where we had a high, low, lower high, and then lower low pattern. So very simple there. And we will see how this 12-hour level ends up playing out, as well as that 2-day candle close that we're looking for in the next 2 hours and 15 minutes roughly. So we'll keep an eye on that. And that is what I got for today. So I hope this video was helpful for you. If you like this video, give it a like down below and subscribe for future educational content around cryptocurrency and blockchain technology. And if you'd like to get the most up-to-date signals from Leutheria, from myself, on my trading ideas related to Bitcoin and Ethereum, you can send an email to team@leutheria.com, and you can join our exclusive Leutheria Signals Discord channel. We just had a trade recently. If we look at this from Ethereum's perspective real quick, one of the entries that I was talking about, one of the trading ideas that I was talking about on the channel, was actually this gray level right here. So the entry was right around the high of that, right around 2190, and you can see that the profit potential for that was about 23% on spot over the coming days. And so that is the type of content that you will find if you join Leutheria Signals. So check that out and send an email to team@leutheria.com. We're going to be releasing a bit more information on the channel as well on our website, Leutheria.com, soon. So you can also check that out. And if you haven't already, also check out our beginner tactical analysis course that we released on Leutheria.com. And this is where you can get all of the foundational elements of technical analysis in one spot if you're just getting started learning how to analyze price action on these different crypto assets. I think this course could be right up your alley. You can get 20% off that course using the link in the description below. And until tomorrow, onward and upward.